If you've ever taken your family on an international trip, then you know that the 1 or 2 weeks before you leave is always incredibly busy. So today I'm taking you along as I walk through how we are prepping and planning for our Thailand trip as we leave in 2 weeks. So listen in. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of Five podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of five around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast, where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Travel Party of Five podcast. My name is Rhea. I will be your host today, and today we're going to chat a little bit about how I am planning and prepping for our Thailand trip, because we are leaving in roughly 2 weeks from the time of recording, and I realize that this is the part that people don't really see or talk about, right? Because it's not like the fun trip recap, and it's not the hotel recap. It's like all the stuff that comes beforehand. And I feel like that's not talked about enough. It's just like, oh yeah, we're leaving tomorrow and then poof, we're on this magical vacation. But no one is like talking about, especially when you are a family traveler, no one is talking about the amount of work that has gone into the planning and the preparation and making sure you have everything that you need before you go, and visas if needed and all that fun stuff. So I am in the middle of this right now for our Thailand trip, which is coming up very quickly in literally less than 2 weeks. And I kind of thought, why don't I just kind of talk through all the things that I'm thinking about, all the things that I'll be doing. And we've got a few like extra wrenches in the plan, so to speak, and I'll talk about those. Including a work trip that popped up for me literally right before we leave. And so it's a little bit of mass chaos over here. And for a little bit of behind the scenes information, so all three of our kids have birthdays in a 57-day period from the end of December to kind of like mid-February. And we just literally today wrapped up our daughter's 6th birthday party. And she is the last of the 3 birthdays. So we have a December, a January, and a February. And I feel like I can finally take a breath for like maybe 24 hours because birthday season is over. We've done it. We've done the gifts, the cakes, the parties, all the whole 9 yards. And now it's like, okay, now it's almost vacation time, except we've got 2 weeks to go. And I have a work trip that popped up literally the week that we leave. So I will now be on a work trip in Texas from Monday through Thursday. And then we leave Friday night of that same week for 2 weeks in Thailand. So that is a little bit unexpected. I'm kind of treating this next week as like the week before we go, because I won't be here the following week, and I'm going to come back on a Thursday afternoon or night. Hopefully my flight is not delayed, and then literally turn around and get on a plane less than 24 hours later. So that feels like a lot to me. I will basically be gone from home for 3 weeks. That also feels like a lot. So I'm going to talk through kind of a few different buckets of things that I am thinking through and planning through and making sure are done before we leave. And I'm also going to talk about a few hiccups that have seemed to have arose based on the way I originally planned this trip. So let's dive in. If you are new here and are maybe just thinking about planning an international trip, I think that this will be helpful for you because we're going to Thailand, but I really think that a lot of these things can be exacerbated out and used for any trip, whether it's really even if it's international or not. And if you're specifically looking for information on Thailand, I do have some information on our trip that I shared in the episode maybe a month ago or so, where I talked about our 2026 travel. And I shared about how we've kind of pieced together the edit credits from the Chase Sapphire Reserve along with Hyatt points and some Amex offers to get this trip cobbled together with part cash and part points. And so if you're curious or planning a Thailand trip, I would recommend going back and listening to that episode. And then, of course, once we get back, we will have several podcast episodes with like trip recaps. So there will be, I think, at least 3 because we're going to 3 different spots in Thailand and then maybe more just depending on timing. And lastly, I will share that this Thailand trip is extra special to me because, and I have shared this maybe once before on the podcast, and I will probably say it again as we get to our trip recaps after we get back. But Thailand and Southeast Asia was a place that I had planned to visit before I found out that I was pregnant with my oldest son. And of course, you know, as things do, when you find out you're expecting a baby, like your whole life changes. And so Thailand and Southeast Asia got put way on the back burner. And so the fact that now, you know, 12, really 13 years later from me having that dream, I am now able to not only go to Thailand myself, but to take my husband and my 3 kids along with us, you know, partially thanks to points and miles is something that it is not lost on me, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. And I just share that because I think if you are, again, new or maybe not new and you know points and miles and you're just kind of feeling like, man, I wish I could do that. Like you can. There's nothing special about us. Like I play this points and miles thing like a game and I have a lot of fun with it. And you could absolutely, you know, do this if you have a similar story or a similar place that you want to go. So that is the answer to why Thailand and why this trip is a little bit extra special to me specifically. And so as we go through the next 2 weeks, here are the things that I'm going to be doing to make sure that we have a successful trip, and also a few things that I'm not going to be doing because I think that like sometimes, and I know this is true for me and a lot of people, if you're type A like I am, there are like you want to know and plan every minute and every second, and you want to have all the things that you could possibly need, you know, when you're on this trip. And I've kind of just learned over the years of traveling with kids that it's not always necessary. So we'll talk about that too. The first thing that I did the other day is I sat down, and this took me a couple of hours and I was dreading it because I knew it was going to take me a long time. I made a spreadsheet with all of our hotel information, booking confirmation numbers, reservation dates, same thing for any transportation I have booked, you know, confirmation numbers, who it's booked through, pickup times, dates, all of that. And I did the same thing for our flights. We have flights there and back, obviously, but we also have flights in Thailand 2 different times. So really it's 4 flights plus 2 positioning flights. So it's 6 flights altogether. We'll fly from Phoenix to San Francisco. Then we'll fly San Francisco to Singapore. I'm sorry, it's 7 flights. So Phoenix to San Francisco, stay overnight. San Francisco to Phuket. Nope. Phoenix to San Francisco, stay overnight. San Francisco to Singapore, stay overnight. Singapore to Phuket. Then we'll be in Phuket for a few days. Then Phuket to Koh Samui. We'll be there for a few days. Then Koh Samui to Bangkok. We'll be there for a few days. Then the flight home goes from Bangkok to Hong Kong and then Hong Kong back to San Francisco. That is 1 ticket, the Bangkok to San Francisco. But then we have another flight home on American Airlines. That is San Francisco to Phoenix. So it's a lot. That's like maybe it's even, I don't know, 7 or 8 flights. So I have all of those confirmation numbers, dates, times, arrival times, whether or not it's an overnight layover. I have a hotel booked for our overnight layover, right? Plus all of our regular hotels. And so that's just a lot of information to keep track of. And in theory, I would have done this as I booked it, but I did not. So learn from my lesson. And as you book things, you know, make a spreadsheet and fill it out. I can share like a template, I guess, in the show notes maybe. But I don't know. I mean, it's very basic. It literally has a section for hotels, a section for flights, a section for transportation, and then like notes if needed. So I'll see if I can figure it out easily enough to put it in the show notes, but if not, just make your own. It's not that hard. But the reason that I wanted this all in one place, besides just organization and being able to access it when we're on the go, if I need it, is that I needed to email all of our hotels and see if I could confirm connecting rooms. And this is where one of the hiccups has occurred. I'm going to call it a hiccup. So we're staying at 3 different hotels. The first one is where I use the edit credits. It's an IHG property. And I don't have any, I mean, I have like platinum elite status maybe with IHG, which is their second highest. I have that from holding the IHG One Premier Rewards credit card. That name is not correct. I'm not 100% sure on the name, but I have the status from holding an IHG personal card. And I emailed them and they don't have connecting rooms. And if we want connecting rooms, we have to go down a category from a pool view room to a garden view room. And I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like, I don't know how much I care about the pool view versus the garden view. So then we're Googling, like, what's the difference? We're trying to watch YouTube videos about it. There aren't a ton of videos, but I do have a good idea of what the pool view room looks like. I couldn't find a good one that had like a garden view. The one that I thought might be good was all in like Russian or Ukrainian or something, and I couldn't understand a word. So Dwayne and I are trying to figure out, like, do we care that it's considered like a downgrade? And I'm going to use air quotes, even though you can't see me. I don't know that we do. I think that probably the connecting rooms is more important to me with our kids being so young and not wanting to split up, Dwayne and myself. I just like it when we're all in one room or 2 rooms that connect. So probably we will accept I'm going to call it again, a downgrade. But I haven't decided yet. And so I haven't emailed them back. And then I did the same thing for our other 2 hotels, which is the Hyatt Regency Koh Samui, which we were able to confirm connecting rooms. So that's great. And then also the Park Hyatt Bangkok. The Park Hyatt Bangkok is where I puzzle pieced together a points room. And then I used 4 FHR credits from our Amex Platinum cards from last year. And so I used one for Dwayne, one for me, one for Dwayne, one for me. So 4 reservations to cover the 4 nights to get our second room. And so I think out of pocket, we'll end up paying, it's like $300 maybe total for that second room after all the FHR credits. But I booked these last year. And the way that I booked it is our points room is a king bedroom. So logically, I booked a 2 twin bedroom because I knew we would want them to connect. And typically, those are the rooms that do connect. However, I have now waited this long and I emailed the property asking for connecting rooms. And the only rooms that connect apparently are a king bedroom and a king bedroom or a king bed corner room. So basically 2 king bedrooms, which I would not have guessed. So learn from my mistake. And I guess in the future, I would email them prior to booking to confirm because connecting rooms really are important to me. It is not a huge deal, but I don't love it. And so I'm a little bummed about that. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do because the 2 twin bedroom is the room booked with all the FHR credits and I cannot cancel it because I booked I booked a non-refundable rate. So I'm feeling really frustrated at myself and especially because this is the Park Hyatt Bangkok, I want it to be this like incredible stay. And now I'm just feeling like maybe it won't be. And I've emailed them twice asking like, is there any room that connects to the 2 twin bedroom? Like, even if it's a suite, like I'll use a suite upgrade award. And they're just like, nope, the rooms that connect are the king bed and the king bed. And I'm like, how does that even make sense? But it's my fault. I should have asked first and I didn't. So again, learn from my mistake, email the hotel first and ask them before you book something that's non-refundable. So that's like one of the hiccups is I don't think I'm going to be able to get connecting rooms at 2 of our 3 properties. Maybe the first one if we do the downgrade. The other thing that I need to do sooner rather than later is we are going to be bringing some ADHD medication into Thailand. And there is this, similar to Japan, it is regulated. However, the one that my son takes, well, actually, the ones that both of my sons take are allowed, but one of them requires like a doctor's note. And so I called the doctor and left a voicemail last week stating that we need like a letter or something, like a doctor's note. Plus, we also need an extension of their prescription because we will run out in the middle of our trip. And this particular child needs this medication so that they do not stir up their siblings to try to get a dopamine hit in their brain. And the medication helps them get that dopamine hit so that they can be calm instead of getting everyone riled up. So it is, I would say, necessary on a family vacation where everyone wants to enjoy themselves, including the parents. And so we absolutely will be bringing the medication with a doctor's note. There is also a form you're supposed to fill out, and I have not done that yet. So I will be attempting that either tonight or tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get approval. But I'm bringing it with the doctor's note either way, unless they decline me. But if I don't get an answer before we leave, I'm bringing it. So that is that. The other thing to keep in mind with medications is, like I mentioned, the refill date. So we refilled this about a week ago, and it's going to run out while we're there. So I also asked the doctor, how can we get like a 5 or 6 or 7 day supply filled before we leave? Through the insurance, it's a whole thing. So these are things to think about when you're going to be gone for a few weeks, and if you have kids or maybe yourself that takes medication that really can't be stopped, or you don't want to stop it, while you're gone. And then the last thing is there is a like a Thailand digital arrival card that you have to fill out online, and you have to do it within 3 days of your arrival. So probably a day or two before we leave is when I will fill that out for all 5 of us. Other things to keep in mind are like travel insurance. We have a annual travel insurance plan through Allianz for the whole year for all 5 of us. And that is already in place. And we're not going to be getting any vaccines. That didn't even really occur to me until a few days ago. And so I don't think that we'll be getting any vaccines, but I guess you could. And the other thing I'll be doing is downloading the Grab app, because that is kind of like their Uber app over there. And so I do expect we'll be using that here and there, if not quite a bit. Another thing to think about for any international trip is how you're going to use your phone. So we have had good luck using the eSIMs from Airlo, and that is likely what I will do again this time. It costs money, but it's not a lot, like maybe $20 a person. There are ways that you can get a free eSIM through some sort of Visa credit card. The data is limited, and basically the way that I understand it is you have to get a new one when you run out of data. I don't have the time or patience for that. I just want to get one, and I want it to last me the whole time. So we will be doing Airlo again for a eSIM for our phones. Okay, so we've talked about kind of the organizational piece of the planning, right? So the trip is planned, but I have now organized all the information into one spreadsheet that I can easily access at any time. We've talked about the digital, digital thing you need to fill out a few days before you go. I don't think I said this before, but your passport does need to have 6 months or longer before it expires from the time that you leave Thailand. Right. So it would need to be 6 months and 2 weeks in order to be let in the country. And so all those kinds of things. The next bucket, and I guess I kind of think of that as like, I don't know, the planning bucket, right? It's like the last pieces of the planning. And then the next bucket is like, what does everybody need on this trip? And as a reminder, our kids are now 12, 9, and 6. They're growing very fast, and Thailand is a very warm climate. So I know that we need summer clothes and bathing suits, and I know that I likely need to buy new ones because all the ones from last year are going to be too small. So I did a Walmart and Target order over the last week for all three kids. My oldest and my youngest are the ones who need the most clothes. My middle son has a ton of hand-me-downs from my oldest, and a lot of them are in really good shape, actually. So I don't tend to buy him as many things, but I did buy him some new swim trunks. I bought everyone swim trunks and bathing suits. And then for my daughter, because she just had her birthday, I did buy her some new summer clothes, disguised as birthday gifts. So that worked out really nicely, and some new bathing suits and shoes. And then for my oldest, he is 12 and all about just being comfortable, and he is growing like a weed. He's already taller than me. And so I just went and bought him a whole bunch of t-shirts and shorts from Walmart. And we're going to get him some new shoes and sandals. So not only do I need to think about clothes, but also shoes. And I try to bring a couple of different options of shoes, both for myself and for the kids, mainly because if we're doing a lot of walking, I don't want them to get blisters. And that's what tends to happen if you wear the same shoe, multiple days in a row. And then I also like sneakers for airplanes versus sandals for when we get there. And so I think on this trip, we're going to do one pair of sneakers for each kid, and then try to do at least 2 sets of different sandals for them, maybe a pair of Crocs and then something else. And then I always try to pack one nicer outfit, not fancy, but something you could wear to maybe a nicer restaurant just in case. Just in case we decide to do that. You never want to be limited by your wardrobe there, or anywhere. But Thailand, I think, is a pretty casual place in general. And so overall, it will be a fairly casual trip for us. We don't have anything super fancy planned, and we will be doing carry-on only. We have 5 of the away larger carry-ons. That, when people say, how do you do carry-on only? There's 2 reasons and why we're able to do it. One, it's that suitcase. I feel like I can fit a lot in those suitcases, even for myself. And then 2, we do laundry. So I do anticipate doing laundry on this trip, or this is Thailand. So maybe Dwayne won't even have to go to a laundromat, and maybe we can just pay to have it done. I would absolutely do that. So we will be doing laundry one way or another on this trip. And we will report back as always. I have so many pictures of Dwayne doing laundry in random countries. And it's something that we joke about at this point. Okay, so what else do we need? I talked about medication briefly. That would probably go in this bucket, actually. And then I'm thinking about for myself too, what do I need to bring? For myself, I ordered a couple new bathing suits on Amazon. I tend to do a lot of Amazon ordering, and then whatever doesn't work or doesn't fit right or we're not keeping, I will just return. And I'm a busy working mom, and I'm unlikely to be shopping in store, especially for myself. That just sounds exhausting to me. So I'm much more likely to order it online and then return it if it doesn't work. Because we are going to a warm climate, it's actually going to be fairly easy to pack everyone in carry-ons, I think, because the clothes are smaller. When we went to Europe last year for Christmas markets, that was a little bit more challenging because, pants and sweatshirts and sweaters obviously take up more space than a tank top and shorts. It is going to be hot and humid there, so I am trying to focus on, at least for myself, linen and materials that are going to be cooling versus sticking to you. Okay, the next bucket, I would say, is setting everyone's expectations. And so I think that there's an invisible load that all moms carry. And if you're a mom, I think you can fully relate to that. And some of it I've already talked about, right? The medication and making sure you have enough, and the connecting rooms and making sure you're coordinating that. And even things that I didn't mention, the dog, right? I had to schedule the dog boarding and figure out when we're going to drop the dog off and what do we need to bring for the dog, right? We need to make sure he has enough food for his stay and all that stuff. But then there is the setting expectations for everyone else, because I planned this trip and I know what's going to happen, but it's very vague for everyone else in my household. Even Dwayne doesn't know all the details, right? So it's setting expectations of this is what's going to happen. We are going to leave our house with our suitcases and we're going to go to the airport and we're going to get on a plane and we're going to fly to San Francisco. We're going to stay overnight in the Grand Hyatt San Francisco, where we stayed last time. Remember when we went to Japan? And then we're going to get on a plane early-ish in the morning on Saturday. And we're going to spend all day on the plane. You're going to watch movies and play games on the plane. And then we're going to go to sleep on the plane. And when we wake up, we're going to be in Singapore. And then in Singapore, we're going to leave our plane and go to a hotel, right? And I'm walking through the whole trip like that. And obviously they're not going to remember all of it, but I'm trying to set the expectations now, because when eventually they will find out that we are going to be spending 17 hours on a flight from San Francisco to Singapore, and they're going to lose their minds, I think. Because if I'm being honest, when I was doing the planning sheet the other day and putting in like flight times and flight arrival times, when I saw 17 hours, I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, is that right? So then I Googled the flight time. That is right. The longest flight I've ever done was around 15 hours, and it was from LAX to Hong Kong. And then I went on from Hong Kong to Bali, and I was nervous at the time. It ended up being completely fine. And I, was a mom of 2 at that point, and I actually loved it because I got to sleep for a good amount of time, and I got to read a book, and I got to watch movies, and no one interrupted me. And I was like, this is amazing. But I think my kids might have a different opinion. And so I just want to be really sure that I'm setting the right expectations. One other thing that we try to do this for every trip that we go on. And we just did this the other day for Thailand. So my husband has a childhood friend from Japan who lives in Thailand, and we are going to meet up with him and his wife while we are there. Definitely in Bangkok, and I think also in Phuket. I think they're going to come to Phuket. So that's going to be great. And in Bangkok, Dwayne can clarify more on this, but I believe that they have like their own food stall or whatever in a market. And so they know the food scene in Bangkok pretty well. And so his friend sent us some videos to watch around different food in Thailand to try to get a feel for what types of foods we want to try while we're there. And so we sat down with the kids last night and we watched a few of these videos, and our little 2, they're kind of like, yeah, whatever, we want to go play. And so they don't watch a ton, but my oldest loves food and is pretty into it. And so he likes to watch the videos and see the new foods. And, like we watched a guy eat pork lungs. And that was like, I don't know if we want to try that. But like, it has a lot of Michelin stars. So then we're like, maybe we could just go and get one bowl and like we could all try it. And so we try to watch these things with the kids, get their opinion so that they have buy-in, right? So they're like, oh yeah, I want to go try that thing that we saw in the video. And it's really cool, I think, to show them something on the TV and then be like, we can go there if you want, even though it is literally across the world. And so I'm excited for that. We watched a bunch of these videos and came away with, I think, a pretty solid idea of things we want to try and a few things that we don't. Like, I don't know that I want to eat like a whole duck. I don't really enjoy duck. I have had it before. It's not really my jam, but like, would I try it in Thailand? Maybe, I feel like you're more inclined to be more adventurous when you're out of your comfortable element. So this is how we try to set expectations beyond just talking, right? We look up YouTube videos, we try to show the kids, and then we also talk them through like, hey, we're going to go to an elephant sanctuary, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And so I think that managing everyone else's expectations really is key to having a successful trip, because then when they're tired and you're in the middle of it and you're like, nope, we still have 6 hours to go until we get to our destination. They're frustrated, but they can be like, okay, I remember you said this, like I remember. And so that is I think probably my best advice for traveling with kids of any age, as soon as they're old enough to like understand you. Okay, so let me quickly recap my buckets because potentially I rambled a little bit and I am really trying to be more clear sometimes. So, my first bucket is you have the plan and you've done the plan and you've planned the whole trip for the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months, but now making sure that the plan is organized in one spot so that you can easily access it when you're on the trip, right? So confirmation numbers, flight details, hotels, transfer info, reservation numbers, tour bookings, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Also, always make sure you have pictures of your passport. It's very important. Other things that we're doing to prepare for the trip, right? Like getting your eSIM, getting your travel documents, any visas if you need them. Bucket 2 is what does everybody need for this trip? I don't actually buy things for Dwayne. I leave that up to him, but I handle this for myself and the kids. So not only types of clothes and shoes and sandals, but swim gear, making sure clothing is the right sizes, medications. Dwayne will help pack their backpacks for the flight. So he'll do all the technology. So iPads charged, shows downloaded, all of that. One thing I maybe didn't mention, but is important here, is the credit cards we'll be bringing and loading up the Charles Schwab checking account with money so that we can take out cash easily while we are abroad without any fees. And then bucket 3 is setting expectations for everyone else. I don't hear this talked about a lot on family travel or really any like Points and Miles travel podcasts. But if you are traveling with kids, then setting expectations for them, I think, is absolutely key. And as a reminder, I planned this trip. They did not. They have no idea what to expect, right? They don't know what Thailand is. They don't know what that means. They don't know anything about the climate or the food or anything. So we do all we can to set their expectations appropriately, YouTube videos, whatever, shows, podcasts, whatever we can do. And then the fourth bucket I haven't really talked about or didn't talk about yet is like maybe this is a fourth bucket, maybe not, but I think preparing myself a little bit, right? Because as moms, I think we're always thinking about everybody else, or maybe not even as moms, but maybe this is just parents. I'm always thinking about like, what do the kids need? And then it's like, oh yeah, wait, I also need a bathing suit, right? Or wait, I also need to get a new pair of sandals. So I think that preparing myself, not only with just the things that I need, but more preparing myself to enjoy this trip, releasing control a little bit, letting things be imperfect, not overscheduling, and kind of remembering that spending time with our kids while they are young is kind of the whole point. And that is why we do this. And earlier at the beginning of this episode, I said I was also going to share some things that we're not doing. And here is the God's honest truth is that right now we are going for 12 nights in Thailand, not including, the positioning flights there. And I have one thing booked, one activity. That is it for the whole time. I do have one other one that I think I'm going to book. But that is it. And that is, if you've been following us for a few years, I don't have every day planned, but I generally have 3 out of 4 days planned. And then we purposely leave a free day. And this is different. And it feels a little bit like, am I going to miss out on something? Like, am I, are we not going to see everything? Like, I don't know. But I am just kind of going with the flow. I desperately need a relaxing vacation. And I am really looking to this as being a relaxing vacation, even if we're going to go halfway across the world to do it. So not overscheduling is, it's my thing for this trip. And obviously, that we will report back on how it goes. But again, as of now, literally one thing booked and that is it. And I have one other thing I think I'm going to book and that I think that's going to be it. And we're just going to go with the flow the rest of the time and kind of do what we want to do. So stay tuned on how that goes, because if you can hear it, I'm a little bit panicked about it. But again, we are releasing control. We are going to enjoy this vacation, even if it's not planned every minute of every day. So that is where we are, folks. 2 weeks out, deep in prep mode, trying to remember all the things and also just trying to enjoy the excitement of what's coming. I genuinely think that the anticipation of a trip is just as good as the trip itself. I have thought that for my whole life. I love surprises and I don't ever want to know. Like for Christmas, I never want to know my gifts. I want the anticipation and the kind of the lead up to it. And I think that is just as true for travel. And so I hope that this was helpful and relatable in some way. If you are gearing up for your own, trip of any kind, international or domestic, I hope that it was helpful and maybe you gleaned a little bit of information or even just like solidarity as like, yep, I'm in the chaos with you. And I will obviously keep you posted as we go. And I'm really, really excited for all the trip recaps from Thailand. Before we sign off, I did want to say one other thing, or before I sign off, I guess it's just me today. With regards to some stuff that's upcoming on the podcast, after we get back from Thailand, I do have a few guests that will be coming on over the next few months. It's just taken some time to be able to get to schedule them and record the episodes. And so that will be all happening after we get back from Thailand. And I do want to try to incorporate one guest a month. I think that would be a really good cadence. My goal is family travel, and it doesn't have to be all on points and miles. So that being said, if you have a trip that you feel like you would love to come on the podcast and talk about, send me a DM on Instagram and let me know, because I would love to have, some listeners who have used points and miles, even just partially on a trip. Doesn't have to be like I did everything with points. It doesn't have to be that. And matter of fact, I actually think it's more relatable when it's a little bit points and a little bit cash, because I feel like that's how a lot of people travel and not everyone is as insane as I am. So, let me know if you would love to come on the podcast and talk about a recent family trip that you have done. I would love to have you do that. And appreciate you just kind of hanging out, listening, bearing with us as we have been in a very chaotic season. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but maybe some episodes have felt a little bit distracted or whatever. If you are feeling that energy, you're not wrong. It's just been a very, very busy season. So appreciate you sticking with us. Really excited for what's to come. And I will catch you on the next episode. Bye.